أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First of all, I'm still debating in my mind to say Jazakallah to Sadr Sahib for giving me this opportunity or saying we are no longer friends. But it will depend completely on your participation and your involvement in this process. When Sadr Sahib called and said he would like to conduct this workshop and I need to come up with something, every day I was thinking, how would I do it if I'm in the audience? What would I like to hear it? And at the end of the day, which is today, I decided that without your participation, it cannot be successful. I want to hear from you as much as I would tell you, rather than it being me telling you what needs to be done. First, I would like to hear from you what needs to be done. So, in this process, there are going to be some uncomfortable moments for you or me, because I'm going to challenge things which are in the box and how can we think out of the box. And when we are trying to think out of the box, it's always uncomfortable. People say, oh, he's totally out of his mind. Maybe, yes. But at least it will bring us to a framework of understanding what are the challenges and how we are going to address those challenges. So, as we know, the topic is helping our children with marriage. Can you get to the next one? And with this one, I want to make an acknowledgement to our Rishta Nata team. I essentially took their presentation, Farooq Paidar Sahib, Dr. Aziza Rahman, and my wife, Anisa Bushra Islam Bayo, worked on this presentation for Rishta Nata presentation. So I'm going to use majority of that presentation, except first few slides. But this is part of their presentation which have been used at Lajna's Ijtemas or their meetings. So you know where I'm going now. So the first thing which this slide tells us, that when our children are born and the Muslim parents, in my mind, there are two major responsibilities. First is helping our children to complete the first reading of the Holy Quran. As you remember, we make every effort that child completes the first reading and have his Ameen by 6 or 7 or 8, whatever the age time frame may be. And my personal experience is that the mother's involvement is critical in that step. There are a lot of fathers do it. I'm not denying that fathers are not involved. But the most of the time, it is the mother. And I remember Hazur, when he was here during the Ameen, he asked this question to a lot of children. So who taught you this reading? And if I could hear the kids responding, majority were my mom. So it is critical piece. And unfortunately, they are not part of this discussion. So I feel that we are only less than half, actually, addressing the issue. Okay, and the second part, which on this presentation is which has disappeared. Okay. Is getting them married. Other things which come in their education, their growing up, all those pains which go with it is part of that. But the next critical step, at least in my mind and in the mind of people who put Lajna members who put this presentation was how to get our children get married. And that's what we essentially wanted to talk to you today. So as I said, the other most challenging responsibility is helping our children select a spouse. And that's the topic which we are addressing today. So if we go to the next slide, starting the marriage process. So the first question which I would like to get your take is can you go back to the one slide before? Back.
That's it, starting the marriage?
One before. Yeah, no, starting the marriage process. Okay. Yeah. So the question is, when does this process start? And Monas is going to make note of that as to what information you provide me as to, unfortunately, I cannot move from here. So I'm stuck here. That information is to, what do you think in your mind is this process starts? Does it start at when the kids are 20, 25, 30, 35? G.
I think it starts pretty early when the kids are young. You start telling them to pray for.
So when kids are young. Okay. When kids are young. Anybody else? From their birth.
So when they get educated.
When they get. When they get education. Yeah. High school.
Under the present circumstances in which the mark has fallen, I'm not talking everyone, but most of the world situation is coming down. It should have been done, it should have been in practice, and it should be in practice. We can get off the door. The girls must be married under all circumstances in between 15 and 20.
No. Okay. Okay. Right? Yeah. I will try to, if it goes that far. Okay. Okay. Now, I think let's concentrate on one aspect. I see your point. But the question right now is, when does that process starts? As a parent, when do you start that process that start putting in your children's mind that marriage is an important part of our Islam? It's an important part which we need to understand. And when do you start talking to your children about getting married? Yeah.
I think that obviously, you're separating what you do to make the person the best person they can be. Obviously, that's all part of preparing. But when you're overtly preparing for marriage, I think it starts at the time when the child would be aware of the other sex and be interested in that, right? Because at that point, they're then interested in what am I going to have in that department, if you will.
Okay, so middle school or something like that.
Yeah.
Some. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Just before they become adults. Yeah. Okay. Just before they become adults. Adolescence. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Now it's so small I can't even read it. Okay, there are 6 things pretty early when they are young. Start from the birth. And if we need to order them so one is the starting from the birth. Second one is early, when they're about 4, 5, 6 years of age. That's what I'm taking it. Or when they become youth, essentially in the middle school, high school age time. 15 to 20. So it's all in the same age ranges through middle school, high school time frame. All right, let's go on to the next question. Okay, next question is your son ready to be married? And how do you determine that your son or daughter is ready to be married? What are the clues would that they give you, or what do you think is important for them to be married? Is that when they finish college? Or is that when they start talking about dating somebody? What is the time, or when do you think those children are ready, and when do you start understanding that this is the time I need to start talking to them about seriously that this is a girl which you should marry, or this is a boy you should marry? What is the trigger point? That's what I'm looking for in your mind.
Assalamu alaikum. I actually wanted to say something about your previous question. I think right from the birth of the child, the parents to show them the practical example that they are sailing smoothly. So because that's the time they start observing how you do it. I think that is when you think of the spouse for future, you start thinking right at that time.
Yeah.
Show them your practical example that you are staying in a nice way, dealing with each other. I think that's the way. Right?
Yeah, Jazakallah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, Jazakallah. You're saying parents need to show by example from the early childhood of the children. But that does not address the question which I'm asking here. Is your daughter, how do you know your son or daughter is ready to be married? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, stand. Ideally, so I think every son or daughter is going to be different, right? I don't think there's a branded age that we can say between 14 and a half and 22.5 or something like that. So I think it starts with developing a relationship with your son or daughter, and ideally then they will start talking to you when they think they're ready to be thinking about marriage. So I think that's really at the core, and not focusing on some standardized range.
So good relationship with parents.
Yeah. So I think he's spoken about what I was going to talk about, but let me think about and add another thing. So another way of determining it is when your son or daughter personally comes to you in the spirit of the relationship and being friends with them, and tells you that, Abu, Mama, I am now ready to get married. And you know that they have pretty much completed their education, whatever they're going to do, professionally or otherwise, and they say we're ready. Because I think that is the time when in their minds, because you really can't get into a child's mind, but that's the time when in the child's mind they're thinking of marriage, and if we as parents don't take action in that area, then we run the risk that he or she may find somebody else on their own, which is something that we obviously want to prevent. Okay?
But you said one very interesting point in there. When they have finished their education,
right?
Is that a prerequisite that they should have?
No, so not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Not
Okay. I just wanted to clarify.
Sure,
that.
not
Yeah.
necessarily. But when they say that I'm ready to get married,
Yeah.
find me a partner.
Right. Joy sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I think the children, they are very different. And in this society, they could be getting marriageable age very early. Some of the children, they show the signs. And the other children, they are much concentrated on the other side, like education or Islam. And they are not, we say they are not getting ready to marry unless they finish their education or they done something. And this is a critical point that I'll say it depends upon the person or the children, that if they are getting ready, then you have to
So
start.
it goes back to the same point which was raised, that you have to have a good relationship with your children from an early age. Without that, it's a futile effort at the end of the day, because
It's 2 points of that all three.
Yep.
It's both that relationship, and it's not thinking in your mind that there is some set age that has to be.
so there's no set time frame or education or standard of living which needs to be achieved. It is just you have to have that open communication with them. Jazakallah. Go on to the next one, please.
Can I just ask a question? This is actually a question about
Sure.
that. The question was, when are they ready to be married? And the question I have is that, what if, your child, you feel that your child should be married, but they're not prepared to be married? And the reason I ask is because I think that it's about your child, but it's also about the person that's ultimately going to be attached to them. And you don't want your child, out there looking for someone whose parents have sort of forced them into this. So it's actually a question I'd like to get some light on at some point. How do you handle that situation?
Jazakallah. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'd just like to make comment on this. The thing is, when the child is ready for the marriage, you can, especially in this country, never wait until they graduate or something like that. And you should be very sportive to them. In case they get married and they want to go to school, you should be sportive. You should support that, Because the thing is, marriage is something, especially in this country, children grow up before they should be growing up, I'm talking about
Right. Yeah.
from the way I grew up or something like that. They're not growing up like that. They're in different
it's
society.
a totally different environment.
This is totally different.
Yeah.
So the thing is, from beginning, from childhood, you need to talk to them, and you can learn from them, because in the school, they start teaching them everything, and they know a lot more than you. So the thing is, from beginning, you need to talk to them so you can be friendly with them.
Yeah, it goes back to the same thing.
Exactly. Instead of going and if they say some about about those things, you shouldn't shut them up. You should listen and explain them what it is. So the thing is, whenever they are ready, instead of looking out there, they will talk to you.
Right.
And if they talk to you, the child is only high school graduate and he wants to get married, there is nothing wrong with it. You should be ready to support them if they want to go to school. And if they do not want to go to school, I can tell you, most of one example, one of my friend, my colleague, the day he graduated from high school, he told me that story. This is true. The day he graduated from high school, they have some kind of party, I think, that day, So he went to that, and then in the morning, he had few beers and whatsoever. He's a Christian. So he came back, he came to the house, he couldn't open the door. And then he knocked the door, he went to the back door, this, that. He couldn't open the door. He knocked quite hard. His father was standing right inside. He opened, he said, "What you want?" He said, "Dad." He said, No. What you want? You're done. I give you 1 hour and a breakfast. And here is a $100. Go and find your, He said, no. So the thing is, basically, we did not grow up like that. But we should be sportive. We need to be open-minded about it.
Yeah.
And plus, I had from
I think
my...
let's keep it to the discussion.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I don't know, but I want to start with the hadith. Al-nikah min sunnati. Those who are not in nikah, Huzur Akram Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is telling, it is my sunnat. And sunnat, after after the Farz. In every namaz where you pray, Farz, then Sunnat. Those who are not following Sunnat, he says, is not from me.
Yeah.
Now the second question is this. Some people, as per the bad sharaat of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salam, those who do not follow 5-time prayers is not from my Jamaat. And to my knowledge, I have come to know some of the youth, they are marrying outside the Ahmadiyya caste. So you can imagine if the new bride you bring, how many years you will take to teach her namaz, to teach her the wuzu, to teach her this thing. It may take about 10 years.
Yeah.
And these 10 years, he will be getting half of the blessings.
Yeah, no, Jazakallah for your comments, but I think it's taking us a little bit
And
away
here
from
is
the...
a marriage selection.
Yeah,
Rasulullah Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has given the 4 categories.
yeah.
Those who are seeing you know that. That's all.
I'm fully aware of the... That's why I didn't want to give my piece and quote Quran and Ahadith. I wanted to get members' perspective as it stands right now without giving them 10 slides or 15 slides which are coming, believe me. With the
Thank you, sir.
quote from the...
It is the duty of the parents to tell their children, sons and daughters, you have to marry when you come in the marriageable age, because that will save 50% of sins of their life.
Jazakallah. That's what the important part is. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Yeah.
Your first question basically blends into the second question.
Yeah.
But the problem which I see, that is a big presupposition that your kids are going to ask you to find somebody, and they know that when he asks you, it is going to be somebody from the Jamaat. So we are presupposing that the kids are ready to be married to somebody in the Jamaat, while we are all talking about the relationship between the parents. We are not mentioning the relationship of the kid with the Jamaat from the early age. Unless the kid gets to a point where the kid understands why we have to have a separate Jamaat, why is it important, and how does the whole thing function, the kid will not really come to you and ask the question, because they know that you are going to put them, with a girl in the Jamaat or boy in the Jamaat.
There are certain assumptions in these questions. Deliberately I kept them vague, especially with the idea that let's assume that we are not talking about our kids getting married outside of the Jamaat. Let's take it granted that everybody is getting married. We are talking about kids getting married inside the Jamaat. I don't think when I was putting this presentation, it ever occurred to me that I will be standing in a masjid and talking and encouraging our children to marry outside of the Jamaat. So that piece is, in my mind, does not exist. I'm talking about children getting married within the community, within the scope of what we are, what our basis is, which is the Ahmadiyya.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
I think the issue is this: marriage is not an issue. Issue is our expectation as a parent, what we are expecting, that marriage should be like this, the partner should be like this. And second is our vision for if they will not do like we want, what will be the problem? So for this, I think the time is start when either one of the parent, like in daughter case, mother is best partner. In son case, father is best partner. They develop a relationship and they prepare son, rather than son will tell that I want to marry, rather they say this time is coming and these are the challenges which you as a parent can see in the environment. Aware him and inform their daughter and son, and that will...
So it goes back to the same thing which has been brought up, that your relationship with your child, whether it's a girl or a boy, a male or female, it has to start from a very early age. What is your relationship? Can you openly talk to your child? I think that's the critical piece in the whole equation. Can you openly talk to your children?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm very pleased with the idea that you just said, that when you're standing here and talking about the marriage, and that's obviously in the Jamaat, But that leaves us to a very big question mark. How are you going to be, is that pool available, which has not worked for so many years? That is a bigger solution that we need to work on.
Yep, that's a question. And believe me, there's no one individual can address that. We have to address that question, big question mark. Is there enough pool of marriageable girls and boys or grooms and brides? We have to address this as a community. There's no one person who can address that. That has not been addressed in Pakistan. That has not been addressed anywhere else. But we have to come together as a community to talk about it and address it. And I think that's the purpose, at least bring the issues up and understand what are the challenges we are facing as parents. Can you?
Add something to that? If that is the case, then we all fail. No matter what you do, we need to be able to create that kind of pool first.
I am kind of person who's not willing to admit that we are failed. I have firm faith that this is a Jamaat of the Promised Messiah which is going to succeed. Whether we, as I personally may fail, another parent may fail, but as a community we are not going to fail. Please take that as granted. So with that mindset we have to work on. Every community faces challenges, one way or the other. The communities which succeed is those who can address them, talk about them, and find a solution within themselves, rather than going outside.
Can you tell me how old was Promised Messiah's second wife when she was married?
Sorry, Promise. Yeah.
Promised Messiah's second wife.
17 or 18 years of age. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Monas, let's go to the next one. Next slide, please. Okay, mate selection wise. I think this is where now it's going to get a little more tricky. What I'm looking for, if your child is at marriageable age, what 3 things you are looking in a mate? What 3 things you are trying to find that, okay, my daughter or my son is getting married and my daughter-in-law should have these 3 things, or my son-in-law should have these 3 things. So just keep it to that, not long speech. We just want to keep moving. And 3 things, what are those 3 critical things in your mind?
Assalamu alaikum, Salim Ahmad Sayyad from Atlanta Jamaat. The 3 things which I think I'll be looking for the mate for my daughter or son will be the first, their relationship with Jamaat.
Okay.
The second thing I'll be their upbringing.
Upbringing in terms of the family structure?
Their compatibility, and then the last will be the education so they can support themselves.
Okay. Education. Jazakallah.
Mine are going to be the same for my daughters. The number one thing is their relationship with the Jamaat, and not based on what people say, but what you can actually observe about how connected they are in the Jamaat. The second is their compatibility and upbringing both. That's kind of 2 different things, but compatibility with your potential, with my daughter. Yep. And then the third thing is their education. So I think that's common.
Okay, it's pretty much the same thing, Richard.
Assalamu alaikum. I won't type it, but I'm told that I should tell the bitter truth. Number 1, doctor. Number 2, very pretty face. Is it okay? They're not reacting that bad, so it's okay, I suppose. It's for the children. So doctor, fair complexion, no wheatish olive, fair, and also related to the National Amla members.
Okay. Let me add to that one, while at it, and not a daughter or son of a Murabbi. I mean, I'm being honest here. I told you I'll make you uncomfortable as much as I'm making myself uncomfortable. It's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable because these are the realities we need to address and talk about.
Some people also look at the caste.
Caste.
And this is something we should ignore the caste, but
yeah, no, that's important. Some people it's very important. So the caste. Okay, Jazakallah. Anything else?
Upbringing was mentioned, but I think, just to be clear, I think the family is important. And I think there has to be some, not only, what's the word you announced, collaboration, but they get, the two get along, but also the families as well.
Families to get along together. Let me ask you a quick question. Once the kids are married, why can't we ignore the other family completely? Just a hypothetical question.
3 words, mother-in-law.
Okay. No, that's good. That's what I wanted to. So, it goes back to my point in the beginning, which I mentioned, that our exercise here carries only, in my mind, I may be totally wrong, only 30% weight. 70% of the weight comes from mother-in-law. I mean, we'll come to that. Okay. Yeah, please.
For the order, I think we have to ask what the son and daughter wants. What is their order? Because again, we are trying what we want.
That's another point. That's another 25% which is missing from this audience is the people who are actually getting married. We are just assuming that we understand them. We may not understand exactly what our children want. And again, it goes back to the same thing. How good a relationship do we have with our children? Do we really understand them? Please go ahead.
Yes, the one I want to comment about is the upbringing part of this. We have to be careful with that. Especially if we say we are Ahmadi Muslim, because we have some new converts, and we all know what Izaja and Nasrullah stands for. They're going to come in with so many things.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think what we are losing is, which you already said, is we are practicing, some of us, not some, we are practicing American Islam, not the Islam of the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because recently one parent came to me and said, I'm looking for a wife for my son. And he said, we are looking for a doctor. Is either a doctor or nobody. Yeah. And he's sincere with it. I'm not blaming him, but that is that is his level of understanding. It means, let's say an African American come, and he has no job, he just left prison. It's going to be difficult for somebody like that to get a wife in the Jamaat.
Right.
So if we say we are really, this is a test of faith for all of us. And that's why I didn't go there, because my daughter is not yet in that age. But I've been involved in marriage issues a lot. Our presidents, most of the time, are to blame for this. The reason why I said that is, no, I'm not blaming them like that. What I'm saying is that if you're a president of a Jamaat, you have the right to call a family privately and let them talk to them about their kids. That is a precedent. You are not talking as Brother Munir or anything. But we shy away from that. And sometimes when something bad happens, if I was be like that, we now say, so we have to go to the basis. Are we practicing Islam? I've listened to the Uzu one. The Uzu said, if a boy refused to, like a boy in the Jama, this is what the Uzu said, I'm quoting now, that the Jama should marry for that boy if he has no money, nobody. The Uzu said the Jama should be responsible for that man. Yeah. But when we don't listen to that, we only listen to what is convenient for us. And that's why we don't have converts coming to embrace us, because they are isolated. We have to be inclusive. For me too, if somebody comes to me and just left the prison, I will be like, what is that? But we have to understand that this is a challenge and we are ready to face it. Until then, it's not going to, I pray that everything works well.
No, Jazakallah. But in defense of the Jamaat presidents and other officials, I can give you an example. I can give you an example. I've been president of a couple of Jamaats, so it will be, you can still pinpoint to which Jamaat it could be, but still. I approached one family saying, I see your daughters getting to a certain age, and I think you should be very seriously looking at getting them married because you don't want them to get a certain age, expiry age, what the girls call this nowadays. And the response was, none of your business. I mean, honestly, that was the response. So I said, Jazakallah, I will not talk to you on this topic in the future. I'll find some other family because I feel as a Jamaat president, it is still my responsibility to at least bring it out. If you don't want my help, that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to enforce myself on you, but at least I can tell you that's my feeling. That's why I feel that your daughter is getting to a certain age which you need to have, find some rishta. Let's go to Hafsa.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. What I'm about to say is very, very sensitive. I don't mean to be mean.
Mike.
I don't mean to be mean, but this is just reality for our Jamaat. And also me knowing Urdu and knowing other languages, I know the both part. What I'm trying to say is that, unfortunately, in our Jamaat, a lot of people, they have this Indo-Pakistani mentality, say, "Kallu se shadi nahi karna." Let me see what I'm saying.
No, write it down.
You know, there's a family in Chicago. I mean, both these two ladies, they are both part of the Amla, of the Lajna. They are very good friends. You know, the son, what do you call it? He's up to age, he's Nigerian, by origin, and they would say they're Pakistani. He knows that, she sees her daughters in the mosque and everything. You just ask her, they have friends, they talk and everything. Just approach her one day, I want to see if my son can marry your daughter. That was the last time she talked to her. These are the things that is going on in our Jamaat, which is not right. And I know some people who came from Pakistan, their parents told them, Kalon se dosti nahi karna.
Yeah.
These are the things that we have in the Jamaat. I think, I don't have that problem, person, I'm but on the other side, but these are the reality of things that we should talk about.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's not related to marriage, but that's an issue. That's an issue which we need to address and talk. Are we looking at only the color of the skin, or are we looking at an MD? I think we'll come to that. That's an excellent point. I think that's a very valid point, especially if we are calling ourselves an international community. If we are just calling us Indian and Pakistani community, I would understand that argument that I don't want to marry a black person. But if we are considering international community, then there should be no hesitation in that aspect.
My hat's off to this young brother who's just said the truth, you. Just for the record, when my daughters were of marriageable age, I have approached some Afro-American families for my daughter's rishta.
Yeah.
It was the other way around. So, just for the record.
Jazakallah. Yeah. Come on on the line.
I think the thing is, we have to...
Please keep quiet so we can listen to the comments.
I think we have to set the parameters first. It's just, for example, it's like a husband and wife buying a house. They have to stick together what they're looking for in the house, right? So they go to see the house, and then wife said, oh, this is not the south facing. We are not going to buy. Okay. Similar way, when you are discussing with your children, you set the parameters. What are you looking for? What are we looking for? And then let's say they said we want this, and give them a realistic approach. Saying that this, because see the thing is, every person is like a commodity. They have a life cycle. They are perishable. At certain age they perish. What I mean is, they have no demand in the market, whatever their education is.
Right.
So my point is, give them the realistic factors, what they can get in the market, what is available, so that they can decide rationally, not irrationally. The way he just mentioned, the racial thing. I have seen on the Rishtanata website, the boys, they're saying, we want just the Jat family, one person. one person saying, I want, not one, several people are saying, we want only Pakistani.
Right.
Okay. So my point is the Rishta Nata coordinators, they should screen these things. You know, when they're writing this, they know who this person is. And they're discussing every week. I don't know what they're discussing, hours or maybe like a couple of hours or so, because I know a few coordinators.
Right.
So they're wasting time. They're wasting time because...
Let's not go into the
what I'm saying is...
functionality.
Right. What I'm saying is we have to reason what we are doing, and then we have to do the feedback, and just like a self-reflection.
Yeah, Jazakallah.
That's the thing.
Jazakallah. Yeah, please stay away from criticizing another department or see, because that's not the purpose of this workshop. This purpose of this workshop is to understand what are the challenges at individual level, at the family levels, which we are facing.
Assalamu alaikum. The brother that was just speaking, and this is all I want to say, is that there's about 5 of us in here and know what he said. The African Americans, or whatnot. There may be 5 of us. The rest of the people don't know what he said.
Okay,
so that should be translated, because see, this is one of the issues.
I will translate
within
it.
Let me finish. This is one of the issues within the Jamaat.
Right.
It's okay. Okay. Yep. So it's okay, because see, they know I understand what they're saying, but the rest of the people sitting around here, they don't understand what they're saying.
Okay.
But this is a problem within the Jamaat.
Yep. That is the purpose of this workshop. That's why I said it's going to make some people very uncomfortable, and I was upfront in that we are going to talk about things which are out of the box.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I think there's another thing which we are lacking as Ahmadis. And secondly, the main point is, some people are saying that Pakistani, they sell their daughters. Because look at the African Americans. I'm not saying we don't have a problem, but very easy. You want to marry a girl, they are talking about $20,000, $10,000, $15,000. You don't have it. What are you going to do? You just sit down.
Dowry.
You don't want to marry.
Yeah.
If I tell you my dowry, it's less than $20.
Yeah.
His daughter just married in here, less than $20, $30. So it's such things that will encourage boys to go and marry. But why boys are not married the girls? Because if I go to this person, not only color, which this man talked, but it's about, it's too expensive. Let's talk about it. It's very expensive to marry here, as we are called Ahmadis.
Jazakallah. I think that's a point which we noted down.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
This issue of getting our children married is a very delicate issue, and we need a lot of prayers. From what I've been hearing all this, I think we are thinking that we can depend on how much we can talk to our children, what can be our relationship with our children, what their education, all those things. From my personal experience, is non-issue. What we need most is prayer. Number one, we come from different culture.
Yeah, right.
Pakistani culture, you can marry your cousin. Is that right?
In Islam, it's permitted to marry
in
a cousin.
Islam, okay, in Islam.
Yeah.
But in my own culture, we cannot. So we have to go outside. So that makes it more complicated, as I will say. But this problem is this. We need prayer.
Right.
I have 4 kids.
No, please.
And we need prayer. Prayer is what we need. Because I continue to pray that these children should marry from the Jamaat. 2 of them brought their spouse to me from the Jamaat, and I agreed, and they were happily married. One of them is successful.
The other one is on the bridge of collapse. I need the prayer of everybody. So it doesn't matter whether what we need most is prayer. So God will help us.
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to clear one thing for this brother who was talking about the dowry. Hazur has recommended for American Jamaat $10,000 dowry. So I wanted to make that clear. Second thing, yes, if we are a Pakistani parents, we talk about the black and white. But the children who are born here, they don't have such thing. Believe me, when they are involved in the Jamaat,
we cannot ignore the very important
yes,
mother-in-law,
yes.
father-in-law aspect here.
Yes, of course it is. But the children who are born here and they are with the Jamaat and they are meeting the Jamaat people, their attitude is completely different than us. So
in second,
please.
third generation.
Gee, exactly.
Inshallah.
So we have another problem. American-born kids here, they don't want to marry with a cousin. This is my sister.
Yeah.
So they say American influence. So what's the solution for that?
There's always a solution. There's other MDs, a lot of other both marriageable boys and girls outside of your immediate marriage. And it's again, our talking to them from early age that it is okay to marry your cousin. I've been through that discussion, believe me. It's nothing new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. I just want to clarify one thing about this brought up about marrying cousins, because I come from a traditional culture, not religion, before I converted, where we would have never thought of marrying our cousins, but we're Ahmadis and have been for a long time, and actually my brother is married to his first cousin. So, I think, when that comment was made, I think it may be different for us. It may be different to think about marrying outside of race or whatever, but we have to remember first we're Ahmadis, and that should drive us more than some of the things that we're quote-unquote used to, and certainly in our case it did. The other thing I want to say, just because we're spending a lot of time on issues and problems and things like that, and one of the things that I say in my business life is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results. And so I went to the Rishta Nata event at the Jalsa, and I've been doing a lot more of late just because my daughters are getting older now and marriageable age. And I see that this is what we're doing. We're doing the same thing. This is great. This is a great forum. But I'd like to see us graduate into coming up with some ideas of things we can do differently rather than focusing on all the problems that we have. And let me start that by throwing out one thing. When we were at the Rishta Nata event, I was on the men. For those that may have been in that event, the boys and the men were on one side, the women on the other side. And then we had these tags, these pink and blue tags, designating whether you had a son or a daughter. And what we noticed is that there were like 90%, on our side, there were 90% pink tags and like 10% blue, maybe at best. So one thing that we can do differently, again, starting that ball rolling, is encourage those with sons to be more involved in the Rishta Nata program so that it's not all women.
But you know the problem.
I do. I do, of course, know the problem, but I'm trying to get us to start thinking about doing things a little bit differently.
I'm going to get a lot of stones thrown at me right now with my statement. When a family, mother and father, have boys and girls, typically mom will say, "Oh boy, I'll find rishta on my own. I don't need Jamaat's help. But girl, Jamaat should find a rishta for her." In the same family, if you have boys and girls, you will see the girls are registered with Rishta Nata and boys are not. Because with boys I have more leverage, so to speak. I can be picky and choosy that she has to be beautiful, she should be this, she should be that, and all that comes with that. So it's again, it's a problem. It's not.
What I'm saying is, if we want the system to work differently, then that's why I gave that definition of just keep doing the same thing. We can't expect it.
Yep. Jazakallah.
So, Assalamu alaikum. My cousin and I are on the same page in terms of solutions because I'd actually like to suggest a solution. First, I just want to restate there's two problems. Even if we list these beautiful criteria here, it can be very difficult to ascertain who actually has that criteria. And I know we're going to talk more about that, but that's one thing. The second thing, unrelated, but I'll tie these together, is that we have a lot of young teens in our Jamaats that, in many local Jamaats, at least from what I've seen, there's no real program for them. You just come to the mosque and do what everyone else is doing. My suggestion is that we need to rotate on a rotational basis. The men and women need to rotate running programs for these teens, because when you run those programs, and I just happen to enjoy it and I do it a lot on the local level, that's when you form personal relationships with those kids, and that's when the blinders start to come off of, whether they have an education, color, and all of that. It's like, these kids, who's the great kids and who's compatible. So that's one suggestion I'd make on a local level.
Local, okay, Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum. After all this discussion which I have listened, one thing which is a question to everyone. Under this discussion, do we as parents take away the rights from the daughter or from the son to have their own choice? Do we take away the right?
Yes. Okay. No. Yeah. No. Considering children's rights. Jazakallah. That's my point. Yeah. Okay. Jazakallah. I think this is excellent, at least for the time being. We can move on to the next one, which is...
clarification.
Sorry?
One clarification.
One clarification?
Yeah. About Hakmer, just wanted to clarify that it is not a must to be given at the time of the marriage. It can be given any time. So you should not be under the impression that,
Yeah, I think that's a confusion which I keep hearing it multiple times. Sorry? Yeah. It should be given as soon as possible. All right. Mate selection. I think now is, and that is what is important for your son or daughter. Do you understand that aspect? Because again, it goes back to the same question. How much communication do you have with your daughter and son? And when the time comes for the mate selection, what is the criteria? Again, keep it to 2 or 3 items which should be considered, that these are the 2 important things for me for the mate selection.
Assalamu alaikum, Bajwa Sahib.
Wa alaikum salam.
I've been sitting here listening, watching everybody, looking at everybody's attention.
Keep speaking in the mic, please.
Everybody's attention span is 100% right now. Everybody's attention span is 100% right now. This subject matter here is really off the charts because the marriage rate in America is astronomical. Now, the Quran says, and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad Islam, we must choose by 4 criteria. 4 criteria. The criterion is, number 1, marry someone for their wealth, marry someone for their piety, marry someone for their beauty, marry someone for their family lineage. When you get to talking about all this stuff about interracial marriages and so forth and so on, America is really not that familiar, you know what I'm saying? It was racism here in America for the longest of times, and just now, like from the 60s now, let's say 40, 50 years ago, it was bad for a black and a white to even be considered looking together, let alone...
No, let's not go there.
Wait a minute, brother, I gotta go here. I gotta go here. You're not gonna just make me sit down and shut up because I got something to say.
No.
I've been married 5 times. Okay? And it's been living hell trying to get one good wife out of the batch of 5. Let me tell you, my first wife was Caucasian. I was attracted to Caucasian because why? They put the whitewash on TV. They put the whitewash on cars to sell soap and deodorant, whatever the product may be. It's commercialism. Get you a white wife, you're cool, man, you're good, you're acceptable. The white man will accept you, will love you. All right? Then I got married again. After that marriage only lasted about maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe 4, to the max. All right? And we were trying to arrange the marriages like the Pakistanis do. Brother Muhammad Aziz can tell you. Brother like Munir Ahmed can tell you. I've been laughed at in the Jamaat. Oh, he's got a harem of concubines because he's getting married 2 or 3 months, he's divorced, he's gone to another woman. Right, like? So I said, okay. I even sat down. Okay, I'm going to say this right here, Bajwa Sahib. Please let me speak. I'm coming from the heart. You my brothers. If I can't talk to you guys, who the hell pray can I talk to? Huh? All right? Whew. The second wife, subhanAllah. The second wife, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, subhanAllah. The second wife, since the first one didn't work out good, I said, okay, now what must I do? Must I marry my own race? No, I'm thinking outside the box. I'm from the 60s. January 17, 1953, so I come through all that. My point is, let me close it off, because I know it's getting kind of heated. My second wife, she was American, tried to arrange the marriage, through a brother in Jamaat Ahmadiyya, you know what I'm saying? I was living in Chicago, had a chance to move to Racine, Wisconsin, and then by the grace of Allah, I got to marry a nice sister, nice family. That didn't last due to personal conflicts. Time, distance, the economic disparity. You got to have a job to put a roof over your head. You got to have a job to put food on the table. You got to have a job to buy Pampers. Let's be real. Wick is not going to provide you with everything. You got to get out there and get it by the sweat of your brow, by hook or by crook. Okay? So then my third wife, which many of you don't know, she was Jamaican, from Kingston, Jamaica. I said, let me try this batch of apples, see how this works. Okay? No, I'm telling you. Laugh. Hold on. Huh? Wait. Can I say one more thing?
Just one thing. I need to move on, control, because we don't have time.
All right, I want to say this much. This wife I have now is my 5th wife. I've been married to her for 21 years by Allah's grace, and Allahu Akbar to me and this wife, and I'm not going to let nobody disrespect her or put her down or, look at me like I'm less than a man. I'm just as much man as any man up in here.
Exactly.
Assalamu alaikum.
Exactly. Okay. Let's keep it real. I'm going to move back to the topic. The question is, what is important to your son and daughter? What's important to my son and daughter is they want to get married as soon as possible. They want Abu to find the girl, Ammi to find the girl. If they don't find it, they will find it for themselves. So, excuse me? No. I'm telling my children's choice.
No, it's his. Your perspective may be different than his. So
my children want to get married, and they want a boy or a girl, and they want it now. And they are only 18, 19, 20, 21. They don't want the mother-in-law or father-in-law asking them how much money they make, because John and Dave and Jenna and all those people are living together and they don't even make that much money. Why is it so important?
Jazakallah.
I only want to give, it's for the parents.
No, just please keep it to this. Mate selection.
Mate selection, which I think the best for mate selection is what your daughter and son, when they attend the cultural celebrations within the family, out of the family, birthday parties or marriage, where they are interested, you can watch them. Your daughter and your son, where they're interested, they can, in their language, may not speak outspoken, but they can tell you their feelings. They're talking about their cousins or their friends. You can choose from their eyes who is their next mate.
Okay, so you need to have, again, relationship with your children. Yes. Jazakallah. Last one.
Assalamu alaikum. In marriage, a man considers 2-3 things: wealth, race, and the moral character. And according to the saying of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
let's not go there. Huh? I want you to tell me if your daughter is getting married.
I will look for the moral behavior and character, because that's less. Although you have to look the beauty, you cannot ignore the beauty if you want.
Jazakallah. Okay. Let's move on to the next one, because we are running out of time. We need to. Who makes the final decision? Is it you, your wife, or your children? Or is it a group decision between all of you sitting together and saying, okay, this is going to work for me? Just one, keep it small, keep it short.
Yeah, I will. So this goes back to what I said in the beginning, and then a number of others reflected on the same thing, that relationship. And the reason for that is it should be a joint decision. So I think what I'm hearing from some, and Monas Chaudhry Saab just talked about a different perspective, like his son or daughter, let's say, is interested in just looks or in just physical stature or something like that. So it's about bringing those together and bringing, you have experience, the parents have a lot of experience and they know the things that are good, but you've got to have that dialogue with your son or daughter, because it doesn't, if it looks like a thing that's totally forced, it's going to push them in the other direction.
Jazakallah. Jazakallah. Just keep it short.
Yeah,
keep it short.
No, again, I think, I have talked about that. It only depends on parents' friendship with the children. And the final decision should be children's.
Children. Okay.
Jazakallah.
Mona's final decision should be children's.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, it should be a joint decision, but weight should be given to children's thinking, what they are thinking.
Oh, Jazakallah. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, just stop here. Now, here's the scenario. I have a daughter. I can tell you she's engaged with Jamaat. Sorry. No, it's okay, it's okay. I'll stay. I have a daughter. She is educated. She is associated with the Jamaat. And Grace, stand up, please. Yep. What is wrong if I go and say, I hear you have a son and I have a daughter? Is that acceptable approach, or only should I wait for him as a father of a son to come and ask for my daughter's rishta? That's a problem. That's a problem. That's what happens. That's what happens.
This is real.
And okay, let me just ask you another thing, Raisa, while you are at it. I've told you my daughter is educated. My daughter is associated with Jamaat. She attends all the meeting. What's the next thing you want to know from me? Right. Go on, Mark. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. Maybe at the end I'll make a comment from the department's perspective, but I think if that match has come, first of all, there's nothing wrong with that approach, although our background makes us think that there's something wrong. Secondly, if that sort of proposal with basic information comes, then you approach your son and give him that information and you discuss it yourself, family background, compatibility and all, and then proceed further. And then if there is some understanding, then you let the two, the boy and the girl, at least talk to each other in parents' presence, see if they are agreeable to that.
So you will not ask for a photo of my girl?
In the initial discussion, no. But,
okay.
again...
You are an exception then. I'm being honest here, believe me.
I didn't ask for a photo for my own marriage, by the way. So.
The marriage system in our Jamaat will be failure simply because we have a parda system and the parties will never get to know each other, and if they do, it will be too late. They are never allowed to know each other.
No.
So it's not going to work.
That is not correct.
It will be a failure.
That is not correct. There's a ways to do it. Within the limits of parda, it's allowed to meet, girls and boys are allowed to meet within a limit under the parents' house, under the guidance. It's permitted in Islam. Hazur has mentioned, it's everywhere it's permitted. It is not going to happen that girls will join you here in this gathering or at Rishta Nata meetings. That's not happening. But in the family settings, it's fully allowed.
So I just want to address what you were asking, Mansoor Qureshi Saab, and just about, inquiring of the son's parents. I've actually done that twice now, and in both cases, not only did the father, I was talking to the father, not only did they not ask for a picture of my daughter, but they specifically said in both cases, I don't want a picture of your daughter yet, because I want to be respectful, let's keep this dialogue, let's see if there's any interest, and then at that point. So I know you said that it doesn't happen, but maybe it's starting to happen. No. That's where I think we need this paradigm shift.
There are always exceptions to, and it does happen, and I just wanted to bring out the challenges which Rishta Nata department faces.
Assalamu alaikum. I pick up that question you asked him as one of the cultural problems we have. That has no root in Islam, number one.
That is correct.
Number two, there are many cultures in Jamaat which does that. The culture that I come from, the Sunnis typically, they never, boy will never go and ask a girl. In Ahmadis, it's okay. But typically the culture there is among Muslims is always girls' parents have to seek out, not the other way around.
Okay, Jazakallah. Just last comment. Just the last comment, please. Last one. We have to move forward. Yeah.
I think that the basic problem is this, as I want to example, first of all, because I worked with the Ismaili community, I worked with the Hindu community. They have marriage mela type of things where supervised gatherings are allowed amongst the boys and girls. Because if a boy goes to the girl house and the girls were rejected, there is a sense of in complexity. And I would not recommend this because I'm saying they are successful right now. I'm working with a multinational. They are saying all sisters are married because we have that system. They are supervised, people are there. From male side, female side, boys and son meet each other because in our society, our daughters, who are educated, they work in the offices, they meet with the boys, they meet with the males. When the MDs comes, the pardas and all these cultural things comes, which is wrong, which is hypocrisy in my words.
Jazakallah, Jazakallah. Okay, last, don't write down.
Assalamu alaikum. Mera naam Abdul Dar hai. So, my question is, I've been looking for my daughter Rishta since 5 years. Every time they say, we don't have match. Every time, we don't have match.
Yeah,
and I don't understand what that means.
Okay. Okay, we'll explain that to you. Okay, let's move on. Okay, as I said, I had all the materials which you wanted to talk about, but I think the critical piece, I may not have time to go through all the slides, but the critical message is we have to think out of the box. I will just give you an example. I hate to do that, but I think it's appropriate just for the sake of information. Please take it as it is. My daughter is married to an African American. When the first time this question came up in the family that she is going to marry an African American young man, guess what was the reaction between me and my wife? Fitna. Sorry? Fitna. Are you out of your mind? I mean, I'm just being honest here. Are you out of the mind? Do you think all these Pakistani will ever talk to me? And her response was, I don't care. Okay? Our next step was, I went and talked to Hazur. And Hazur said, so what's wrong? What's the issue here? I said, Hazur, in my mind, there's only one issue. And that is, he has just converted to Ahmadiyyat. Is he Ahmadi or not Ahmadi? Is he converting for my daughter or is he converting for Ahmadiyyat? And he said, and what other issue? I said, Hazur, he just did Bai'at in last 3 months ago. And Hazur smiled and said, I can take care of that problem because you remember you have to wait for 1 year. But Huzur said, I can take care of that problem. Second one, I will leave it up to you. We waited for 2 years before we told our daughter yes to go ahead, because we wanted to make sure that this young man is interested in Ahmadiyyat first, and not just because he has met my daughter. It's very difficult to talk even about that kind of thing in public, but I just wanted to bring it out to you that there's nothing wrong with marrying a black person, a white person, or green person, or yellow person, as long as they are Ahmadis, as long as they stay within the time frame, they understand what Ahmadiyyat is. The benefit of this, they're multiple, because now I personally understand African American cultures much better than what I understood 3 years ago. It was a learning curve for me, learning curve for my wife, learning curve for daughter. There are challenges. It's not piece of cake. I can tell you, if you're thinking there's a piece of cake, it's not. Those challenges are always going to be there. But the only way we were able to overcome those challenges was only one thing. That was prayers. And requesting Huzur to pray for us and pray. And when I second time met Huzur, it was a year and a half later, and Huzur again went through my family and said, so he said in Punjabi or Urdu that, so she's not married yet? I said, not Huzur yet, we are still not 100% satisfied. And he said, so what's your time frame? I said, Huzur, we are getting close to that stage, but we still need your prayers. And Huzur said, definitely I'll pray for you. So the prayers and our relationship with our daughter, she was very open. She came and talked to us about everything. Same is with our sons. Whenever we had discussed their marriages, it was always, our youngest son is not married yet. But ask him, since he turned 15, I've been on his case that you are getting married day you graduate. I'm not waiting for you to find a job. I'm not waiting for you to become successful in career and have a house and things. Your deadline is graduate. And he's been delaying that. That's his choice. That's his choice. That's his one way of getting out of it, but he knows that's the deadline. And believe me, for my daughter or for our sons, I have never hesitated to get to somebody and saying, this is the rishta, we have a daughter or a son, and this is what I wanted to bring it to you. There's no harm and hesitation. Remember, Hazrat Khadija asked the Holy Prophet ﷺ for marriage. That gives you indication that we need to get out of that. No, the boy side has to come and the girl side will sit and twiddle their thumbs and say, oh, it's been 10 years since we have been looking for a rishta. We need to get out of that mode. We need to find Ahmadis. Don't look at the color. Don't look at the photograph. Don't look at that this person has to be 5 feet 6 inches and otherwise it's not going to work. My daughter is 5'4", her husband is 6'5". So he should have been looking for somebody 6 feet tall if we are going by that equation. But that, in my mind, that was not the critical point which will make or break the marriage. It is how they live together, what is their association with the Jamaat, and how they treat people around them, whether they're related or not related. So again, my time is out, otherwise, can you go to the next one? I think the parent honesty is always the best policy. I think there are a few points which I think I can, with the permission of Rishta Nata team and Farooq Paidar Saab, I can send this presentation to Sadar Saab so that it can be shared with all the members because we don't have time. But I think the bottom line is, believe me, Qawle Sadid, which is part of the Nikah ceremony, the verses which talk about Qawle Sadid. There are many marriages which we see broken at the end, few years or immediately after the marriage, because we did not abide by that Qawle Sadid. When somebody asks something, be honest and tell them. I remember, I don't know whether okay, I'm going to say it without names. There was one person who came to me and he said his daughter is getting married in Pakistan. And I said, are you sure your son is grown up here in the US? And he said, you know my son. I say, I know your son. He was completely out on the whack, had no connection with the Jamaat. So is that the reason why you're going to Pakistan? He said, no, that's not the reason. I just feel that there's a better match there. And said, okay, so I know your son's background. Are you going to tell them about this? That this is your son's background is? And he said, if they ask me, I will tell them. And that father, the other father, was smart enough. He said, tell me your son's life history. And now this person is in dilemma. To tell the whole history or just tell the good parts of it. But I give credit to this father. He told them that my son used drugs. He had no connection with the Jamaat for several years, but now he's coming back into the Jamaat. So that father still went ahead with the marriage. And I can tell you it's around 12 years now, 13 years, that marriage is still successful. Because Qawle Sadid was there. Had that information been hidden and found out later, that marriage would have fallen apart next day. So I think that's the bottom line. Sometimes we think we are trying to be smart and give roundabout answers. Believe me, those will come and bite us. It's much better to be upfront, tell the truth. It will hurt you at that time more, later on more than at that time. At that time, it will be painful for 5-10 minutes. But at the later time, you are ruining 2 different lives, or more even. So it's much better to stick with what the Holy Quran has told us, to stay with Qawle Sadid. So with that, I leave you, and Jazakallah for again. I think it was really learning experience for me, and I hope I have brought something to you. I know it's not going to give you solutions. My purpose was to get your brain cells moving and going and thinking about the problems which we are having, and hopefully we can meet again in some different forum to find out the solutions. Jazakallah.